Entrepreneurs often dream of building a business that not only thrives, but also supports the life they truly want. If you've ever wondered how to use your business as a vehicle to reach your personal goals and create massive impact, you won't want to miss this conversation with Steve Preda.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
In today's episode, we'll uncover how to define your ideal life as an entrepreneur, the 5 growth principles that can help you 5x your business, and how to create unstoppable momentum in just 45 days. So, Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Candy, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here too. So thank you so much. Before we get into a deep dive into how everyone should be doing this, I would love for you first to just talk about your concept of the ideal life. Why is it so important for entrepreneurs to define that first before really even diving into business growth strategies?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking me this question. This is one of my favorite ones. So I've been an entrepreneur myself for the last 25 years, almost 25 years. And what I have found was that being an entrepreneur, as you know, because you're one as well, is not always easy. It requires a lot of hard work. It requires a lot of sacrifices. Our families sacrifice as well. And sometimes there are painful decisions we have to make and painful choices and all that stuff. So I think if someone doesn't have something at the end of the rainbow that they're trying to achieve with being an entrepreneur, it may not be a good idea. So I like to recommend people that, okay, begin with the end in mind. What is this ideal life that you're trying to move towards, and how is your business going to help you get there? And I do believe that being a business owner is a ticket. And if you build a good business, then you can get everything you want. You can have community, you can have lifestyle, you can have prosperity, you can have time freedom and all that stuff. But if you don't know what you want, then it's dangerous because you might just get it.
Mm-hmm. But then someone might be thinking, well, how do I actually define what I do really want as my ideal life? Maybe they're still really young. Maybe they're still just even going to school and testing out, do I like this? Do I like that? Do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to work for someone? I'm not even sure what my ideal life looks like. Or, maybe now they're older and they thought they knew what it was and things are changing. So how would they actually define what their ideal life looks like?
Well, I mean, you are right that it can shift over time, and I think it does shift. I think there are few people who can envisage at the age of 10 how they want to live their whole life. That's probably not possible. They don't have enough information. But definitely it's worth reflecting at any time that with your current knowledge and experience and emotional makeup and knowing yourself as much as you do at that point, what would help you feel the most fulfilled life, and to move towards it. To me, it looks rather obvious. And the reason that I realize it's not obvious is that in my previous life, when I was an investment banker, I helped small business owners monetize their business, sell their business, or bring on investors. And what I found, to my great astonishment, after several of such transactions, which were touted as successful transactions, that the business owner actually got depressed, they got isolated, they felt they lost their meaning in their life, and they didn't actually know what they wanted to do with all that money and all that freedom that they ended up with. And it was kind of a backward process. So it kind of crystallized for me because of these experiences that maybe it's worth thinking about, okay, what is at the end of the rainbow? What would ideally the kind of life I want to live, and what does it take for me to live that kind of life? What kind of situation is it personally and financially, of course, but also in terms of lifestyle, in terms of the people around me, in terms of the activities I'm doing, in terms of the meaning I am pursuing. So that's kind of the ideal life, and I've got a tool somewhere on my website which helps someone figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So now someone is saying, okay, I know what I want, and I am a business owner, so I want my business to really help me get to where I'm going to, use it for what I want to achieve in life. I know you talk about, business growth principles. So what are those principles even that would help someone achieve those goals to use their business to help really realize that ideal life?
Yeah, so the way I think about it is you figure out what your ideal life is. So for example, my ideal life could be, I feel like I'm already living it to most extent, but let's say I'm a business owner and my ideal life is that I want to retire and I want to play golf, or I want to write a book, or I want to, be a speaker and go on a speaking tour, or I want to be with family. So what does it take for me to put myself in this position where I can do this, where I have all the means at my disposal to do this? I have the time, I've got the security, and my family is also aligned with it. And most cases, you realize that there are some financial goals connected to this ideal life. You cannot just go and do it. You have to put yourself in a financial position to be able to do it. And then how to get there. Now, if you're a business owner, then you are in a wonderful position because you are in control of your own destiny. And if you have a viable business, then you can turn it into a buyable business, or you can turn it into a business that will be self-managing and you don't need to be there all the time, or you can play whatever role you want to still play in the business, or you can be part-time. So you can use that business as a vehicle to take you to your ideal life. And normally when people do this exercise of looking at, okay, how much money do I need to live my ideal life and where am I now with my business, then they will find that there's a huge gap in many cases. Sometimes it's a moderate gap, but most cases there is a gap. And then how do you bridge that gap? So this process, the 5 business growth principles, is all about bridging the gaps. How do you take your business from where it is to where it should be, where it has to be, in order to yield to you the ideal life that you want to live? And then this process helps you achieve that.
Mm-hmm. So what are those specific, principles that someone should do? Like, do you have like a name, like first you do X and this is what you do, just to help them understand what those principles really are? So
this is a very simple process, but not that simple. So it's like the Einstein thing that you want to simplify it to the greatest possible extent, but not further. So it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you do this and you're done. So it's a little bit more nuanced than that. But the 5 principles are people, purpose, performance, playbooks, and profit. So people is all about making sure that you have a healthy company, that you have the right people in the right seats, that you are empowering your people. I call it the mini CEO concept. So all your functions are run by people who are strategically thinking and are thinking about their function, how to grow their function so that the whole company grows. And you create a coaching, mentoring culture, because it's all about growing your people. If your people are not growing, your company is not going to grow. The second concept is your purpose. So what is your company about? I believe that every company, and I didn't come up with this, it was Peter Drucker who articulated it, to my knowledge, that every company has to have a positive societal purpose for it to have a reason to exist, a justification to exist, because people will not give you money unless you do something for them. so how do you articulate that purpose? And there are several elements to it. What is your company why? What is your summit vision? That your long-term big, hairy, audacious goal, Jim Collins called it. What is your medium-term vivid vision? We call it the medium-term milestones. And how do you reverse engineer from this vision your plan and your annual and quarterly plan so that you are always moving towards your vision? So that's the purpose. And the performance is actually doing this. So when you reverse engineered what you need to do it, and do it in a dynamic and effective way where you engage everyone in your company and you are executing and making decisions and taking actions and keeping everyone engaged and excited. And then you cannot scale the business without creating systems in your business. So at some point, probably fairly soon, when you already have, where you're going with the vision and you take care of your people and you are executing, then, okay, let's systemize this business. So what are the playbooks that you need, and how do you make sure that those playbooks are integrated in your business and then optimized over time and automated to the degree possible? So that is playbooks. And finally, the final principle is profit. So how do you keep this company growing and be successful? They have to grow as fast as the best competitors, right? In order for you to thrive, which means you cannot do that if you're profitable. So we need to benchmark this company to the elite in your industry and engineer the business so that it delivers elite profitability and then sustain it over the long haul. So that's the profit, and that takes a little bit longer because we have to create those differentiators and make it a well-oiled machine business.
So do they have to do those, 5 principles in order, starting with what you said, the people first and then the purpose? Or can you say, I want to figure out my purpose and then I need to determine the right people in there, and then we're going to start, doing the performance? Is it, you have to go step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or can you really start anywhere in those 5 and just make sure you have all 5 of them?
That's a great question. And we start with people first because it's a nice idea that without great people, it's what is even the point of being in this company? Because you don't want to spend 40, 60, however many hours a week with people that are not the right kind of people. So I guess it makes sense to start with people. But if you are a solopreneur or a very small business, maybe you start with the vision, because you can't attract the right people yet. You're not really attractive. So then you start with your vision. What is my why? Where am I going? How am I going to be different? And then start to build that business and then attract the people. And then the performance, start it as soon as you can. Even as a solopreneur, you can start being more methodical and plan and execute your plans and not get distracted, and prioritize things. That's always helpful. The scaling of it is not necessary. Again, you can do it as a one-person band, but it's probably not your biggest priority at that point. But as soon as you want to delegate, or you have people to delegate to, I think it's worth documenting best practices, and there are simple ways of doing it. You don't have to overcomplicate. And then the profit, that will probably have to wait. It's a nice idea that start something that is super profitable and from day one, but it rarely happens because you don't know what you're doing at day one, and you're just trying to make a dollar, right, and make ends meet, and it often doesn't start with profit. But I think what you want to focus on from day one is how much reserves you have and how do you not burn your resources, right? Because the longer you stay in the game, you can stay in the game, the more likely you can figure out a way to actually be successful.
So in the intro, I said too that business owners can 5x their businesses too, right? So for someone who's saying, well, I do want to scale my company, I don't want it to just be me, I want to make sure I have the team and everything is in place. again, those first steps we talked about, obviously you have to figure out the vision or the purpose or whatever too. But if someone is really just looking at everything right now too, do you have a tip on, this is your first step really in improving your business, whether it's business performance or, like you said, obviously that reflects in the profitability too. But what is maybe that first step that they really need to make to start moving towards that scalability in their company?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's make an assumption that we are starting with a viable business. So a viable business, in my definition, is a business that has already figured out how to make money in a profitable way, but it's still not scaled. It's limited. Maybe it's a couple million. Maybe it's even smaller or larger. But it can do something profitably. But but everyone is involved in it, so they haven't systemized it. They're not executing optimally. They don't have a clear vision and so on. So viable business. So typically, if you can employ 10, 15 people, you are probably already a viable business. And I believe that the lowest hanging fruit is execution. So really just doing the singles and doubles, just the basic best practice of execution, which are well known, which have been around since Rockefeller, really, and implement those on your business and basically start firing on all cylinder in execution, because it creates a momentum. I call it the execution momentum, the 45-day execution momentum. You can do it in 45 days. And that gives you a big push, and it gives you some room to take a little bit more risk and to start working on longer term things, such as your vision and your playbooks and maybe your go-to-market approach, this kind of stuff. So that's what I suggest you do. And execution is all about having a plan and having priorities, and maybe you have an annual plan, a quarterly plan, you have KPIs that you are leading indicators, activity-based metrics that you're chasing during the week to make sure that you stay on track. You have a meeting cadence with your team. Preferably every meeting you touch base with your team, and then you have a weekly tactical meeting. You look at your finances every quarter. And then you engage your team in making decisions and taking action. So that's going to create tremendous momentum in your business if you do just that.
Obviously, momentum is important in the business. And, you said 45 days. I think someone who's listening might be thinking, I've been in business for a while and it's taking a bit to even get this off the ground. 45 days just seems like it's really difficult. So do you have, a practical step, for that 45 days? Like, this is what you should focus on first. And then you're going to see this multiplying, so that they actually can get encouraged by what they see to continue, applying that in their business.
Yes, so we developed a 32-step playbook for creating this 45-day execution momentum. It's not something that we offer for self-implementation. It's a little bit like operating on yourself. I mean, even if you have the playbook and you know where to cut and what to put where, it's very difficult when you are under the knife yourself. Doing it on yourself, it's difficult. So right now, we don't have a self-implementation version. We might in the future. I'm thinking about it. But so we have a guided implementation, and it takes 32 steps, and you can get there in 45 days. It takes 2 days of strategic planning and visioning and working together with your team. And there are some meetings in between. And on the 45-day point, we can get to the point where there's a clear strategic plan, when there are quarterly objectives, KPIs, meeting structure, there's a vision, the culture is defined, of the business's culture is defined, and there is a growing momentum of prioritizing the right topics, making decisions, taking actions, and moving the company forward.
And when you say 45 days, do you mean actually like 45 days including weekends? Or are you talking about like 45 work days if someone technically is thinking it should be a 5-day work week, so a difference of 6 weeks or 9 weeks? Like, when you say 45 days, exactly what do you mean?
I mean 1.5 months. So
Okay.
it's a calendar, 45 calendar days,
Mhm.
including weekends. And it takes about, I can't recall the exact number of hours that it takes, because I calculated for one client who asked about it. So it's something like it takes between 30 and 40 hours of activity from the leadership team to actually get there. Probably less than that. And yeah, it is actually not that difficult. It's not that difficult, and most of the time is spent with the guide. So if I or one of my colleagues come in, we'll spend 2 full-day meetings with the team. That's 16 hours. And then we'll have weekly meetings for actually only have 2 or 3 weekly meetings. Maybe that's 4 or 5 hours. And then you have daily meetings. So it's actually a lot less. And then executing on the quarterly objectives, that is going to take some time. So it's actually less than 30 hours. I can look into it for the listeners.
Mm-hmm. So really on average, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. If they were doing something each day, it's, not like a whole lot of other time. Because I was also thinking, if someone is like, well, how do I do this if I'm in the middle of doing all my other stuff to run my company? I'm providing service to the clients, I'm managing a team, I'm marketing, I'm doing all the things. How am I going to fit in extra work? But it sounds like really it could be about an hour a day.
Yeah, maybe 1 to 2 hours a day, I would say. 1 to 2 hours a day if you really want to move the company forward. If you just want to maintain the status quo and just be much more effective with it and free up time, then it would take less than an hour. But if I'm already thinking, okay, you are creating momentum because you want to move the company forward. So you have to start working on the future, not just on the present. So let's say 2 hours, and one of these hours is focused on building the future, and 1 hour is making the present more efficient, more profitable.
Mm-hmm. Right. So strategic planning, thinking, for the future, what you should be implementing, yet you're still making corrections in your business now to make it more efficient, or figuring out those systems and processes.
Yeah, because the future needs investment. So if you want to create a growing and more profitable company in the future, you will have to invest your time and financial resources now in order to create that capacity that will create more value in the future. And you have to somehow squeeze that in. That's part of your profitability. But that's why you need to be profitable, because you want to reinvest in the business, and you want to be time profitable as well. You want to have time to reinvest in the business as well. But that's a good way you asked about this. It's a really good way. It's a different framing.
Thank you. So if someone's listening and they're thinking, well, I've got my business operating well, we have the right people in place, and we've got, our vision, the purpose, and, everything. We got the playbook, we got the profit, like we're doing well, but I'm still not seeing a lot of growth per se. Maybe we're maintaining, but I haven't seen a huge amount of growth. Like, what would you say to them to help them maybe jumpstart from just maintaining where they are, just having incremental growth, to really continuing to, blossom?
So these things are relative. So I have all the right people. A lot of people think they have all the right people, and when they actually do a talent assessment, then they realize that they don't, because some people are underutilized, some people are in the wrong seat, some people are in the wrong company. So that happens. The second thing is compared to what? So you're doing well compared to what you are doing already. So you are doing well, maintain the status quo. But the status quo is not sustainable, because if you're not growing, you're dying, and your competitors are growing, and there are other companies that are going to disrupt you if you're not growing, that are going to come in with AI tools or whatever, outsourcing. So you, as a business, if you're not growing, then you are in constant danger. Even if you are growing, you might not be growing fast enough in order to be a survivor. So just because it feels good, that's often the definition of a lifestyle business. Because when you are not growing, it actually feels better. because you are not stretching. You don't have growing pains, right? You've got something, you figured it out, everyone knows what to do, and I come in the morning and I take care of my customers. I go home and I can watch TV, and I can go for a weekend, and it feels good because I'm in my comfort zone. But that's a dangerous place to be. And if you want to have A players in your business, ambitious people who want to grow, they're not going to be comfortable with the status quo, because they're going to feel, I'm wasting my time here. I want to be in a company where I'm being pushed, where I'm being pushed out of my comfort zone, so that I can become a better person and I can be more successful over time. So that's the thing. That's often lifestyle businesses think that they are doing well, and maybe as a lifestyle business they are doing well, and that's fine. But if they want to be long-term viable, then they need to step out of their comfort zone. Now, let's assume that it is all true. This company has the right people, they have the right vision, they have the right culture, they're executing well. Everything is good. If they are not growing, then they must be not doing something right. So what is missing? Maybe they are not focusing on the right kind of customers. Maybe they are not. They don't have a good go-to-market strategy that will allow them to get more customers. Maybe the customers are not happy enough to refer and to send their friends to your business, so that you don't have to go after new customers. So there's got to be something. If the company is not growing, something is missing. So you can start there. The other thing you can do is, maybe everyone is doing a good job and working hard, but perhaps there's a way for people to use less time to do what they are doing and free that time up to do high-level tasks, which is building the future. So how much time do they have to build the future? They can reallocate, they can get rid of the 20% that is useless and maybe focus on the 20% that is the most valuable, and rearrange their time, and then have more energy to pour into building the future.
Perfect. Well, this has been interesting. I know we are coming to the end of the time we have together today. So I wanted to ask, do you have an offer that you would like to extend to our listeners? And if they want more information from you, how can they contact you?
So the easy place to go is our website. So it's summitos.co. It's not .com, it's .co. So that's the website. Or Steve Preda, my LinkedIn page. You can sign up for my newsletter, which is a weekly newsletter, and then I always make offers in the newsletter to download free tools and to learn something, this kind of stuff. So I recommend that you sign up for my newsletter on the website, summitos.co. That's the best place to be. And once a week, you'll hear from me and you can learn more. On the website, you can download one of my books. You can download the summaries of other books, and you have links to Amazon, to the book page, and all that stuff. So yeah, come to summitos.co. That's the best place.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you, Steve, for being a guest on my show and talking on this topic. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Candy. You were a great host, asked great questions, so I'm delighted to have come.
Thanks. And to you, the listener, if you enjoyed today's topic and you want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guests and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.